Imagine the scene with me. You're looking at the lush green fields of Malkangiri in Odisha. The date is August 24th, 2025.
The time you'd normally expect, the sounds of farming.
Exactly. But instead, what you have are hundreds of farmers. They've completely blocked National Highway 326.
And they're not just angry, it sounds like real desperation.
Utter desperation. They're protesting a severe shortage of urea. It's basically lifeblood for their paddy crops.
And this isn't just one isolated spot, is it?
No, not at all. This is a window, really, into a much bigger crisis that's rippling right across India's agricultural heartland. It's hitting millions of livelihoods.
And ultimately, it touches the nation's food security.
Absolutely. So today we're going to take a deep dive into India's fertilizer crisis.
It's much more than just bags of chemicals.
Oh, definitely. It's a really complex mix of global events, domestic policy choices, and fundamentally, the health of the soil itself.
Right. Our mission, then, is to unpack where this crisis actually comes from.
Yes, explore the implications, some might surprise you, and look at the paths India is trying to navigate to secure its agricultural future.
And more intricate than it looks on the surface.
It really is. So let's go back to that scene on the ground. Malkangiri, August 24th. It was quite dramatic.
Yeah, you mentioned protests. Who was leading them?
We had Bandhu Muduli. He's the president of the Zilla Adivasi Mahasangha, and also BJD leader Laxmipriya Nayak. They were right there, leading hundreds of farmers.
Literally blocking a highway out of necessity.
Precisely. Because they couldn't get the urea they desperately needed, it got to the point where local officials like the Mathili BDO Pramod Behera and Tahsildar Manasi Boy had to step in.
What could they do?
They had to make a direct promise. They assured the farmers that urea stocks would arrive by August 29th.
That level of desperation, having to extract a promise like that,
Yeah.
it shows the immediate impact.
It does. And as you hinted, this isn't just an Odisha story.
No, we're seeing similar struggles right across the country. Think about Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, key farming states.
What are they facing?
They're grappling with shortages too, but specifically of diammonium phosphate, DAP.
Crucial for the upcoming Rabi season.
Absolutely essential. And the scale is worrying.
How worrying. Let's talk numbers.
Okay, take Punjab. Just
Yeah.
one state, right? They need about 5.5 lakh tons of DAP. That's 550,000 metric tons.
A huge amount for one state.
Massive. But look
Yeah.
nationally, the total availability, it's estimated at only around 15 to 16 lakh tons
Against a need.
against a recommended need of 27 to 30 lakh tons.
So we're talking a national shortfall of maybe 40, even 50% for a critical nutrient.
That's the reality. It paints a very concerning picture.
Are there broader economic signs confirming this?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
The Fertilizer Association of India, the FAI, they reported a pretty sharp drop in DAP sales, down 25.4% between April and October 2025.
And imports. Because we rely heavily on imports, don't we?
We do. And they fell significantly, too, from nearly 40 lakh tons, 39.68 to be exact, down to just under 28 lakh tons year over year.
Wow. And the price, I assume that's gone up.
Oh, yes. DAP prices jumped from about $589 per metric ton in September 2023 to $632 just a year later.
So it's costing more and there's less of it available. A real crunch.
Exactly. It's a systemic issue threatening agricultural output directly.
And this scarcity, it inevitably leads to tension, even political accusations, right?
It certainly does. In Chhattisgarh, for instance, the opposition Congress party has been quite vocal.
What are they saying?
They're alleging that the state government is actually creating an artificial crisis. They point to specific figures.
Like what?
Well, they claim only about 1.01 lakh tons of DAP were supplied, against a target of 1.31 lakh. And for urea, it's even starker. 3.59 lakh tons delivered against a goal of 7.12 lakh.
That's a huge gap, especially for urea.
It is. And this raises serious questions about who gets affected most.
It's always the small guys, isn't it?
Proportionally, yes. Small and marginal farmers make up something like 80% of the agricultural workforce in Chhattisgarh.
So what happens to them when the official supply runs dry?
They face a terrible choice. They might wait for days, hoping for the promised fertilizer. When it doesn't show, well, they either watch their crops potentially fail, or they're forced onto the black market, paying double, sometimes triple the official price.
That's not just an economic hit. It's pushing them towards ruin.
It's a desperate gamble to save their livelihood. Really pushes them to the brink.
So we see the desperation. The scarcity is clear. Let's dig into the why. Why are these fertilizers, especially DAP and urea, in such short supply? Is it domestic production failing, or is it bigger than that?
It's definitely bigger. The core issue really is India's deep dependency on imports.
How deep are we talking?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
Roughly 20% of our urea comes from abroad. For DAP, it's a huge 50 to 60%.
Okay, that's significant.
And for muriate of potash, MOP, it's a staggering 100%. We import all of it.
100%. Wow, where do we get all this from?
It's a diverse list. China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Oman, Iran, Egypt, quite a few players.
So if anything happens in any of those places?
India feels the pinch directly. Any disruption in that global supply chain has immediate effects here.
And we've certainly seen global disruptions lately.
Absolutely. Take the Russia-Ukraine war. That hit potash and urea supplies hard globally.
And more recently?
The conflict involving Israel and Hamas, that's impacting DAP shipments, especially from the Middle East.
How so? Logistically?
Yes. Ships are being forced to take longer, much costlier routes, often avoiding the Red Sea entirely.
Which means higher prices and delays getting it here.
Exactly. It's like a chain reaction hitting the Indian farmer.
That Red Sea disruption alone must be adding significant cost.
It is. But there's another major factor, particularly for DAP, China.
Our neighbor and a huge supplier, right?
A critical supplier. But they've decided to suspend their DAP exports.
Why?
To meet their own domestic demand. They're prioritizing their farmers.
And the impact on India.
It's been dramatic. Our DAP imports from China just plummeted.
Ah.
We went from importing 17.1 lakh tons in the first half of FY24 down to just 4 lakh tons in the same period in FY25.
That's a massive drop, over 75% reduction from one key source.
It really highlights our vulnerability when a major supplier changes course like that.
Now, India has been trying to boost its own production, hasn't it? Especially urea. Has that helped cushion the blow at all?
It has, somewhat. Particularly for urea, there's been good progress. Domestic production increased by about 20%, reaching 31.4 million tons in 2023-24.
That sounds positive. But what about DAP and MOP?
That's where the picture's less rosy. DAP production actually fell slightly in the April-October 2025 period, down to 25.03 lakh tons from 27.01 the previous year.
So no improvement there. And MOP.
Still entirely import-dependent. We just don't have the domestic capacity, and we rely on importing the raw materials needed, like phosphoric acid and ammonia.
So it's really a mixed bag on the production front. Progress on urea, but still heavily reliant elsewhere.
Precisely. Significant dependencies remain, especially for DAP and MOP.
Okay, let's add another layer. The government's subsidy system. It's meant to help farmers keep fertilizer affordable.
Yes, the intention is good. Huge amounts of money are involved.
But sometimes these systems create their own issues, don't they? I saw the 2024-25 subsidy budget was actually cut.
That's right. It was set at 1.64 lakh crore. Now, that's still an enormous sum, about 1.64 trillion rupees.
But it was a reduction.
Yes, a 13.18% cut from the previous year's 1.8 lakh crore.
How does a budget cut like that impact the supply situation?
Well, budget cuts and sometimes delays in announcing the actual subsidy rates can make private importers hesitant.
Why is that?
Because they're buying expensive fertilizers on the global market. They need assurance quickly that the government subsidy will cover their costs. Delays or uncertainty make it risky.
So it can slow down imports just when they're needed most.
Potentially, yes. And then you have the currency issue, the value of the rupee.
How does that play in?
A weaker rupee makes imports more expensive. Even a small change, say a euro depreciation against the US dollar, can add something like 12,260 tars per ton to the cost of importing DAP.
Another cost pressure pushing prices up or making supply tighter.
Exactly. It all adds up, creating burdens along the supply chain.
So let's bring it back to the farmer. This isn't just an abstract economic problem for them. It's their livelihood on the line.
Absolutely. We saw those protests in Malkangiri, but there have been others too, week-long protests in places like Jaipur, Kotpad, Boraguma.
What are they demanding there?
A key demand is for direct benefit transfer, or DBT, for fertilizers.
Sending the subsidy directly to the farmer's account.
Yes. The idea is it would bypass middlemen, hopefully curb that black marketing we talked about, give farmers direct control and access.
It highlights just how severe the economic strain is, especially on those small and marginal farmers.
It's incredibly tough. They often can't afford the inflated black market prices. So they face that awful choice. Plunge deeper into debt to buy fertilizer, or risk losing their entire crop.
Which means no income for the year.
And potentially higher food prices for everyone down the line.
Right.
It's a real lose-lose scenario for so many.
And there's another angle to this crisis, one that's maybe less visible but incredibly important. The impact on the soil itself.
Yes, the nutrient imbalance issue. This is
Yeah.
critical.
Can you explain that? How does the subsidy system play into soil health?
Well, urea is heavily subsidized. Its price is kept artificially low, around $70 per ton, compared to DAP at over $600.
So farmers naturally tend to use more urea because it's cheap.
Exactly. It leads to significant overuse of urea relative to other nutrients like phosphorus from DAP and potash from MOP.
Like giving the soil an unbalanced diet.
Precisely. It's like a junk food diet for the soil. And the data on Indian soils is quite alarming.
How so?
Less than 5% of our soils actually have sufficient nitrogen. Around 60% are deficient in phosphate, and a staggering 68% are deficient in potash.
Wow. And micronutrients.
Also in short supply, things like zinc and sulfur are often lacking.
So what's the ideal balance we should be aiming for?
The generally accepted ideal NPK ratio, nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, is around 4.2.1.
But what's the reality on the ground?
It's way off. In a state like Punjab, for example, farmers are using about 61% more nitrogen than needed, largely from urea,
And the other nutrients.
and 89% less potash than the soil requires.
That kind of imbalance must have consequences.
Severe consequences. It reduces crop yields over time, even if there's a short-term boost from nitrogen. But more importantly, it degrades the soil structure and fertility.
Threatening long-term sustainability.
Absolutely. We're essentially undermining our future agricultural capacity by solving a short-term cost problem in a way that creates a much bigger long-term soil health crisis.
That's a really powerful point. Sacrificing long-term health for short-term economics driven by policy distortions. So where do we go from here? What's being done?
Well, the government is certainly spending heavily on subsidies. As we mentioned, that 1.79 lakh crore in 2023-24 is a huge figure.
But the structure of the subsidy is part of the problem, right? Particularly the nutrient-based subsidy scheme.
Yes. The NBS scheme was designed to link subsidies to the actual nutrient content, encouraging balance. But crucially, urea remains outside this scheme.
Which perpetuates the overuse of cheap urea.
Exactly. That exclusion is a major driver of the nutrient imbalance we just discussed.
But on the production side, there has been progress, especially with urea.
Yes, that's a genuinely positive development. Since around 2012, there's been a concerted effort. 6 new urea plants have come online, and 4 older units have been revived. Places like Ramgundam, Gorakhpur, Sindri Baroni.
How much capacity has that added?
It's added about 76.2 lakh tons, over 7.6 million metric tons to our annual urea production capacity.
That must be reducing our import dependency significantly.
It is. Projections suggest urea import dependency could fall from around 25–28% down to below 15% by FY26.
And the goal is self-sufficiency.
The aim is complete self-sufficiency in urea by 2025–26. It's ambitious, but the trend is positive.
Are there other innovations helping? I've heard about nano-urea.
Yes. Nano-urea, developed by IFCO, is another promising area. It's designed to be more efficient, requiring less volume for the same effect, and potentially better for the environment. They sold about 3.3 million tons between 2021 and 2024.
So urea seems to be heading in the right direction, reducing a major vulnerability. But what about DAP and MOP, where we're still so heavily reliant on imports? Is just boosting domestic production the answer there?
It's a critical part of the answer, but maybe not the whole story. Reforming the subsidy system is probably the first big step.
How so?
Bringing urea under the NBS scheme is one option that would help align its price more closely with its nutrient value compared to DAP and MOP.
Encouraging more balanced use.
Exactly. Or moving towards direct income transfers or digital coupons for farmers to buy any fertilizer they need based on soil tests.
That could tackle the price distortion and maybe even the black market issue.
That's the hope. It gives farmers choice and could reduce leakages in the current system.
And alongside subsidy reform, boosting domestic production for DAP and MOP must still be crucial.
Absolutely essential. Given our 50–60% import dependency for DAP and 100% for MOP, we need significant investment in new domestic facilities.
How could that happen? Public sector, private?
Probably mix. Public-private partnerships could be key to mobilizing the investment needed to build that capacity and secure raw material supply chains. We need to reduce our vulnerability to global shocks.
Makes sense. What about alternatives to these traditional chemical fertilizers?
That's another vital pathway. We're already seeing a shift towards NPKs complex fertilizers. Those include sulfur, another deficient nutrient, their sales surged over 23% in 2024.
So more balanced options are gaining traction.
Yes, and then there's the huge potential of organic fertilizers and biofertilizers. Schemes like PM Prenam are designed to promote these alternatives.
Reducing chemical dependency and improving soil health long term.
That's the goal. Alongside this, we need better logistics.
Getting the fertilizer from the port or factory to the farm efficiently.
Yes, improving that whole supply chain. Using digital tracking, maybe linked to those DBT schemes, could bring transparency, cut down delays, and ensure fertilizer actually reaches the farmers who need it when they need it.
Tackling waste and desperation at the same time.
Precisely. And we also need to think about reducing the overall demand for fertilizer through smarter farming.
Climate-resilient agriculture.
Exactly. Developing crop varieties that are naturally more resilient, need fewer inputs. And crucially, promoting water-efficient irrigation.
Like the Per Drop More crop initiative.
Yes, that's a great example. We saw irrigation intensity, basically, how effectively water is used increase between 2015 and 2021. More efficient water use often means more efficient nutrient uptake, potentially reducing fertilizer needs.
So, working smarter with resources. And finally, what about the farmer's knowledge?
Critically important. Empowering farmers through better extension services, making those soil health cards truly practical and useful.
Guiding them on exactly what their specific field needs.
Yes. Helping them understand optimal fertilizer application rates, preventing that overuse of urea, and making them aware of micronutrient needs. It's about providing actionable information, not just selling products.
So wrapping this up, we've journeyed from those desperate protests in Malkangiri through the complexities of global trade wars and shipping routes, right down to the nutrient balance in the soil itself.
It really shows how interconnected everything is. This isn't just about fertilizer bags.
No, it's fundamental to food security for a nation heading towards 1.6 billion people by mid-century. And we've seen how vulnerable agriculture can be. Think about El Niño drastically cutting growth just recently.
Resilience is absolutely key.
It is. So as India aims to sustain its population and maybe even maintain its role as a major food exporter, perhaps the biggest question isn't just, how do we get more fertilizer?
But maybe something deeper.
Right. What if the real long-term solution involves fundamentally rethinking our relationship with the land? Empowering farmers not just with subsidies, but with precise knowledge and innovative tools. What if this crisis becomes the catalyst for building a truly sustainable, resilient agricultural system for the future?
A future based on soil health and ecological balance, not just chemical inputs.
Exactly. What does that future look like to you?